Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our show titled Speak of Africa. What is the show of today about? The show of today is about Africa, the new jihad. Africa has become a new battleground for jihad. Jihad means holy war in Islam. Most of you know we've been talking about African problems. When you look at Africa, Ali Masri, one of my former professors, used to say Africa has been influenced by three main factors. You have indigenous factors, Christianity, and Islam. This continues. Today, we have a new scramble from Africa. There is the battle for the heart and soul of Africa. And this battle is being fought by religions. You have the Christian religion, you have the Islamic religion, and you have the indigenous religions. So far, the Christian religion and indigenous religions are very, very pacific. By contrast, social media has brought about the radicalization of Islamic militants. So most of them are carrying this jihad all over the place. When you look at most countries in Africa, look at the Sahel, for example. When you look, especially after the downfall of Gaddafi, insurgents, militants were all over the place. They were using religion as a scapegoat to publicize their agenda, to make the agenda work. And that's what we can tell you in the video of today. Africa's new jihad. Africa has become the battleground for the heart and soul of Islamic guys. That's what is happening. Look at Nigeria, for example. Before, you guys should be complaining about, oh, the Chibok girls. It will not happen again. No. The factors that resulted in the kidnapping of the Chibok girls have not changed. They are still there. So why are you surprised that this week you are complaining about girls who have been abducted in St. Mary's school, Catholic school? Why are you surprised? Is Bola Tinubu surprised too? Tell me. Is Bola Tinubu surprised? When you look at these stories, they are major stories, and you ask, why do most of these jihadist insurgents target schools? Well, they target schools because schools are weak, they are open, they are easy to be attacked, and most of the time there's no security. So the Nigerian government has to start understanding they have to start providing security to schools. Bola Tinubu says, oh, I know what I'm doing. Well, he doesn't know what he's doing. He spends all his time politicking, planning for re-election in 2027. We think with a threat from Donald Trump, Bola Tinubu needs to start thinking that if you don't focus on the threat of insecurity in Nigeria, you should resign. Because that's what a lot of Nigerians are saying now. Bola Tinubu should resign if he does not want to focus on the threat of insecurity in Nigeria. Since he came to power, he has not really done much. We've been explaining that the jihadist problem can be solved. This problem is caused by many factors. So we know the causes of this jihad, the terrorism that is affecting a lot of countries in Africa today. So we know what is creating this problem. And we think if Bola Tinubu watches our show, he can get some answers to his problems. When you look at the jihadist problem, the modern jihad, it is like a scramble. What are the factors causing this jihad? One, you have political factors. The biggest issue is Africa does not have a viable political system. Most countries in Africa depend on colonial legacies. They call them democracies, the nation state. The nation state is a concoction of the colonial guys. It cannot work in Africa. That's one of the reasons why you have this problem with jihadists in Africa. Because people feel disenfranchised. When people feel disenfranchised, they look for ways to resolve their issue. Even the Boko Haram that we talk much about today, when they were complaining about disenfranchisement, they were looking for ways to address their issue. But the Nigerian government just pushed him aside as people were not important. As a result, the people morphed into a force to be reckoned with. That's what happened. So the colonial system of having democracy is not working. Look at Cameroon. Cameroon just had an election a few weeks ago. Paul Biya lost the election. Okay? Paul Biya lost the election. But today, Paul Biya is sitting in a palace in Etudi. Paul Biya should probably go on retirement. After over 92 years, he cannot walk. He wears a catheter. So he should probably just retire into a nursing home in Vumeka and live quietly and happily ever after. But he doesn't want to do that, and he has his hangers on, such as Chantal Biya, the femme fatale, who are encouraging him to stay and pester the Cameroon people. What is happening now in Cameroon is fertile ground for jihadist activity, political conflict. Issa Chiroma knew he won this election, but he's been chased out of Cameroon by Biya's forces. He doesn't have a big army like Paul Biya. Paul Biya controls the apparatus of state. He has used this apparatus to bully Issa Chiroma and kill Cameroonians, terrorize them, so that he can stay in power. He can stay in power for a few weeks, a few years, yes. But what is the aftershock of all of this? The aftershock is, because of this political conflict, Issa Chiroma is now in Yola. Okay? He has been well received. But do you think he's sitting quietly? No, he's not sitting quietly. He's planning his comeback. He's planning resistance, a way to topple this Biya regime. He may tell you, oh no, I'm just going to declare days of mourning. We're going to mourn for our martyrs of freedom, people that the Paul Biya regime has killed. That's not enough. We know he may not say it, but people plan things. People want revenge. Paul Biya has defeated them now by pushing Issa Chiroma out of the country. Now he's in Nigeria. Nigeria has decided that they will not send him back to Cameroon and face any trial. Issa Chiroma is a Muslim. So we told you before on this show that Nigeria is not going to send him back. Immediately, the Nigerian authorities found out that Issa Chiroma was the fugitive the Cameroonian government of Paul Biya was talking about. They decided to offer him protection. He's well guarded. He's been told not to be speaking a lot, to be using another person, like a porte-parole, somebody who can speak on his behalf. He's going to be doing a lot of the speaking for him, which is why he decided to nominate Alice Nkom to be his spokesperson, because the Nigerian government doesn't want him to be talking much. So he can even be more deadly being in Nigeria, and Nigeria and Cameroon are neighbors. So he can move in and out. He can move his forces in and out. So this doesn't all go well for Cameroon. Then when you see that terrorism comes down to Yaoundé, are you going to be surprised? Don't be surprised. Because on this show, we start showing you how to dot all the T's, how to put all the I's, okay? Dot T's, okay? Dot the I's and cross the T's. Because we know what is going to happen. So this Issa Chiroma rebellion is going to continue. It's not going to be easy. So when you look at Boko Haram is already in the north of La République du Cameroon. And we are already predicting that Issa Chiroma is not going to take his defeat lying down. He's going to do something about it. Already we hear whispers of armed rebellion. So the government of Yaoundé should be ready for armed rebellion. So Issa Chiroma may not say it, but we can already prepare the people of La République du Cameroon. Be prepared for armed rebellion from the north. Boko Haram is already there. The Cameroon army has been losing a lot of soldiers because of Boko Haram. And this news is not really reported a lot in the official media of La République du Cameroon. This war is going to get worse with the presence of Issa Chiroma in Yola. The war is going to get worse. So mark my words. Issa Chiroma has met his brothers. They're going to want revenge. And of course, you know, in Islamic religion, revenge, revenge, revenge. That's what is going to happen. And they're going to look at Paul Biya like an infidel. Issa Chiroma has even used the image of sacrilege. When Paul Biya put his hands on the Bible and took the oath of office, Paul Biya drew the attention of Christians and Muslims at large. This is a sacrilege because how can you be telling a lie? You're holding the Bible, a holy book, and you're swearing on a holy book. This is an action that is sacrilegious. And it is like a tool Issa Chiroma has used to draw the attention of the world to the wrong things that Paul Biya is doing. They're going to say that this infidel is doing the wrong thing by using the Bible to swear. Okay? The Bible is a holy book. Thou shalt not tell lies. This is one of the 10 commandments. But Paul Biya is telling lies and he's getting away with it. Is God going to let this happen? Of course. God gives us free will. But the ramifications are there. Issa Chiroma is going to be back. He may not want to fight. He may say, no, I don't want to take arms. I just want a pacific way to take over the government. We don't think there's a pacific way to take over the government from Paul Biya of A2D. There's no pacific way. If you think you can use peace to take over this government, you're smoking something. The only way you can take over this government is to fight and topple them. We said it before. We told guys who were going to the polls to vote in La République du Cameroon, stop wasting your time. This voting is not going to work. You're wasting your time. And we've been prophetic, right? Because even after Issa Chiroma won, what happened? Biya stole his victory. That's what Biya has always done. Biya is a serial election rigger. He will always steal that victory. He did this to Maurice Kamto. He did this to Nijom Frundi. He has never won any election. He himself was handpicked to become president. Since then, he has forced himself on Cameroonians. He has been purging the system. Anybody who opposes him, he kills him. Just like the Al Capone of Africa. Okay? Pablo Escobar, that's Paul Biya. He's Pablo Escobar, a terrorist. He will kill anybody who stands on his way. Okay, he doesn't care. The wife thinks in the same vein. She will kill anybody who stands on his way. Look at what has been happening in Ambazonia. They have killed so many young people, so many. Over 10,000 people have been killed in Ambazonia. So many hundreds and thousands of people have been displaced. Most of them have gone to Nigeria. And they are still living in Nigeria today, since 2016. So what do you expect? So, political instability is a recipe for terrorism. Most of the terrorists, they use this instability as an excuse, as a tool to further their agenda. They may not really believe in politics, but they just use this as an excuse. That's what the jihadists are doing. And another example is economic factors. Most of the time, there's terrorism in this part of the world because of economic factors. You look at Mali, look at Niger. Mali this week had a lot of drama. People were short of petrol. They could not get petrol to fuel their cars. So this was causing a major incident in Mali. Assimi Goïta has been fighting the Tuareg rebels for supremacy. Sometimes the Russians will help him. He will score a few successes. But other times, he also has setbacks. But this week, the rebels staged a major position where they made it possible for petrol to be transported to Bamako. And there was a shortage everywhere until Russians came to Assimi Goïta's rescue. That's what happened, right? So they are showing that they can shake things off. They can hold their ground. So things are not easy. So economic factors, the people are fighting for resources. So when you look at what is happening in Mali, in Burkina Faso, the rebels, they call them rebels. I call them, they are citizens who are fighting for freedom. It's unfortunate that they are Muslims. I'm Christian, but I don't say you should fault Muslims because it's not every Muslim who is doing this. Even with the Boko Haram, a few of them have been radicalized because they feel like the Christians and the West are taking advantage of them, so they have to fight back. They feel a form of encroachment, which is the same way when you look at most of these schools in Nigeria, the schools are just scapegoats. They are scapegoats of the games of politicians. Donald Trump has been threatening. But what can Donald Trump really do to stem the tide of terrorism in Nigeria? Well, we think Donald Trump just has a pulpit, a bully pulpit, where he can bully people like Bola Tinubu. Since he started bullying Bola Tinubu, now Bola Tinubu is behaving like he's trying to do something to solve the problem. So it means that Trump should even put more pressure on Bola Tinubu. When he does this, Bola Tinubu may start looking at the terrorism crisis in Nigeria as a serious problem. So far, the Muslims are not looking at it like a serious problem because they are not losing any members in their families. Those who are losing members in their families know that the Boko Haram menace is real. And this is why we're drawing attention to this problem. It has not changed much, it has just changed its face. Then, of course, you have social factors too. When you look at Christians, farmers, and northern herders, they have their own conflict because they are trying to compete for the same resources, water resources and other economic resources. When they clash, of course, they take their guns and come and kill the Christians. And the Islamic religion has really been expanding. When you look at Islam, Islam has been expanding very, very well. In fact, they've already surpassed Christianity because of their concept of Jihad, holy war. And they are using Africa as the battleground. So what's going to happen? We are trying to bring this to your attention because most people don't even understand that Islamic fundamentalism is a problem in Africa. There is a battle for the heart and soul of Africa. That battle is waged by Islamic insurgents. They want to impose Islam on the average African. They want to impose Sharia law. So is Nigeria going to become an Islamic state? Those are questions that a lot of people are asking. Now that you have a president who is a Muslim, you have a vice president who is a Muslim. So do you think these leaders are going to be sympathetic to Christians, Christian families, people who are losing members of their family every day? The outside world doesn't think so. Even Huizinga, a representative in the United States Congress, has been talking about it. People are not taking Bola Tinubu seriously because they know that he's a Muslim, his vice president is a Muslim. Some people even call his vice president Mr. Terrorist, Mr. Boko Haram. So I don't have any proof that he's Mr. Boko Haram, but that's what they are saying. They call Shetima Mr. Boko Haram. Does he have any links to Boko Haram? I don't know. Do you know? If you know, share the proof with us because those are issues that are really creating havoc in Nigeria, and they're also creating havoc in all of these other countries. Weapons are everywhere, so the people are using these weapons to fight. Okay? So we have to know that this terrorism is a serious problem. Terrorism is not only limited to Nigeria and Cameroon. When you look at the whole Sahel, the problem really became big when Burkina Faso started experiencing terrorism. It was not limited to Burkina Faso. Now Mali has been dealing with it. Even when France invaded Mali, it was to dislodge most of these terrorists. But they are always coming back because the solutions that they provide tend to be military. Military solutions alone are not going to solve the scourge of jihadism in Africa. We keep saying this all the time, but nobody listens. The way you solve this problem is look at the root causes. There is a correlation between petrol and poverty in most of these jihadist areas. The jihadists are simply exploiting local grievances. People have social grievances. They try to exploit these social grievances to further their agenda. So when you see, for example, the Igbos and the Hausas are not getting along, the jihadists take advantage of these conflicts to promote their own agenda. And that's what we see. Social factors, poverty. It's easy to recruit. Now that Paul Biya has pushed Issa Chiroma out of the country, what do you think is going to happen to this affected youth in the north? They're already talking. They're already saying that they're going to join Boko Haram. When they join Boko Haram, what do you think is going to happen to Cameroon? It means they're going to take terrorist activity from the north down to Yaoundé. That's what's going to happen. And we can already predict this is what's going to happen next. Don't be surprised when you start seeing a lot more soldiers dying, because these guys are coming down to Yaoundé. So they're bringing the war to Pobia. That's basically what they are doing. So terrorism is not limited to Nigeria and just the Sahel. Look at Mozambique. Mozambique too is another area where a lot of the foreign powers, there's geopolitical strategic play. They're jockeying for resources. They want to get the resources in Mozambique. So this has brought these bad elements in Mozambique. So you see terrorist activity has been growing in Mozambique. Okay? How are you going to stop it? You cannot stop it because most of these powers don't really care. Their foreign influence is just to exploit the resources. They don't really care about the country. So if you want the terrorist activity to end, they have to put some money to deal with the social issues. Poverty alleviation, poverty eradication. Those are some of the goals that have to be attained. We have to set those goals. What can we do to help disaffected youth? How can you get people up, to rise up from poverty? Those are some of the things that the politicians need to think about. In Mozambique, for example, give these people good education, then make sure they have good jobs so they can earn a good living. If terrorism becomes the only way out, then why are you surprised that they will be terrorizing people? Because banditry has now been linked to the whole holy war agenda. Like in Nigeria, for example, the people who are bandits and the people who are terrorists are one of the same. Before, people were thinking that these other guys were just for crime and these other guys had a religious war. No, all of them now are just fighting for resources. They are fighting for survival. That's what is really happening. Then Mozambique is not limited. What about Somalia? We have the same issue in Somalia. You remember Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab has been operating. They've even been going as far as Uganda and Kenya. And they are creating havoc over there. You always hear the stories. So this terrorism is a new phenomenon and it's in Africa. It's here to stay. What can we do to stem the tide of this terrorism? Those are the questions that inquiring minds are asking. On the political side, we need to have stable governments. We need to have accountable governments. The governments need to care about the people. They need to not be captured by a few guys as if we're all going to be living under a banana republic. So that's one. The whole concept of nation state is not working. Democracy is not working in Africa. So we need to think about it and come up with some changes. Economically, we need to have an equitable way of sharing resources. Right now, it's more like a winner takes it all. If I'm Yoruba, I win the election, I only help my Yoruba people stay in power. If I'm Hausa, I win election, I only help my Hausa brothers and sisters enjoy the fruits of the cake of state, the national cake. So this creates a lot of resentment in the country. So that's another problem. Then on a social level, we need to keep the society open so that we avoid conflicts between communities. We need to make sure that we educate people to believe in their country. Then we need to allow everybody space to participate in national building. So a country should not be the possession of a few people. A country should not become a gang. Right now in much of Africa, most of the countries are like gangs. They are run like gangs. If I become president, I take over the state apparatus, I control it, I can steal as much money as I want, and I don't care if other people have food to eat. That's what is creating resentment. So this has to change. And on this show, we're telling you finally, these are the 8 ideas that we have. We can elaborate on these ideas. If an African leader consults with us, we're going to give them a blueprint that they can use to really solve the issue of terrorism in Africa. Now it has become a battleground. Are we going to let terrorism win? I don't think so. So let's do something about it. Please, if you like this video, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you very much.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.